Have you ever noticed how much of your life is shaped by people who are not living it? Before you speak, you wonder how you will be judged. Before you act, you imagine what others might say. Before you chase your dreams, you ask for permission from voices that have never carried your burdens. Slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to build a prison, not with iron bars, but with invisible expectations. The tragedy is that the door of this prison has always been unlocked, yet very few people have the courage to walk through it. The moment you allow someone else's opinion to become more important than your own inner truth, you surrender your freedom. You stop living from conviction and start living from approval. Every decision becomes a performance. Every success becomes a search for applause. Every failure becomes a fear of embarrassment. This is not life. This is survival disguised as acceptance. But there comes a moment, a quiet moment, that changes everything. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is the moment you realize that no matter what you do, someone will misunderstand you, someone will criticize you, someone will doubt you. And when this truth finally settles into your heart, something extraordinary happens. You stop wasting your energy trying to control what was never yours to control. Freedom does not begin when the world accepts you. Freedom begins when you accept that the world never has to. The strongest people are not those who silence every critic. They are the ones who no longer allow criticism to silence them. Their confidence is not built on praise. Their peace is not destroyed by rejection. Their direction is not determined by the opinions of people standing on the sidelines. Imagine how powerful your life would become if you no longer needed permission to be yourself. Imagine waking up each morning without the burden of proving your worth. Imagine making decisions based on your values instead of your fears. That is not arrogance. That is not rebellion. That is inner freedom. And inner freedom is the birthplace of an unstoppable life. Most people spend years trying to change how others see them, while the truly wise spend those same years changing how they see themselves. Because when your identity is rooted within, the noise outside loses its power. The opinions of others become like passing clouds. They may appear, but they no longer control the sky. This journey is not about becoming careless. It is about becoming clear. Clear about your purpose. Clear about your values. Clear about who you are when no one is watching. The quieter your confidence becomes, the less you need validation. The less you seek approval, the more authentic your actions become. And authenticity carries a strength that no performance can ever imitate. Today is not simply an invitation to ignore criticism. It is an invitation to reclaim the life that has always belonged to you. To stop carrying expectations that were never yours. To stop shrinking so others feel comfortable. To stop apologizing for becoming the person you were meant to be. Because the day you stop caring about opinions that cannot define you is the day your true strength awakens. And once a person discovers the freedom that comes from living according to their own truth, they become something the world cannot easily stop. Calm, fearless, focused, and truly unstoppable. From the moment we become aware of the world around us, we begin collecting opinions. As children, we look to our parents for approval. In school, we seek acceptance from classmates. As adults, we measure ourselves against colleagues, friends, strangers, and even people we have never met through social media. Without noticing, we begin to believe that our value depends on how others respond to us. This is where the invisible prison is built. It has no walls, no locks, and no guards, yet it holds millions of people captive every single day. The bars of this prison are made from fear, the fear of rejection, criticism, embarrassment, and disappointment. Unlike a physical prison, this one cannot be seen by anyone else. It exists entirely within the mind, making it even more difficult to escape. The strange thing about this prison is that it often feels comfortable. You convince yourself that pleasing others is kindness, that avoiding conflict is wisdom, and that staying silent about your dreams is humility. But beneath these excuses lies a deeper truth. You are protecting yourself from judgment. Every choice begins to revolve around one question: what will people think? This single question quietly steals your freedom, changes the clothes you wear, the words you speak, the career you pursue, the relationships you remain in, and even the dreams you abandon. Gradually, you stop living your own life and begin performing for an audience that never stops changing. The greatest illusion is believing that winning everyone's approval is possible. No matter how carefully you speak or how perfectly you behave, there will always be someone who disagrees with you. One person will admire your confidence, while another calls it arrogance. One will respect your silence, while another mistakes it for weakness. The same action that inspires one individual may offend another. If your peace depends on satisfying every opinion, then peace will forever remain out of reach. Many people spend years polishing an image instead of strengthening their character. They become experts at appearing successful while secretly feeling empty. They smile when they want to speak. They agree when they wish to disagree. They follow paths chosen by others because those paths appear safe and acceptable. Yet every compromise leaves behind a quiet feeling of dissatisfaction. Deep inside, they know they have traded authenticity for acceptance. The mind becomes exhausted when it constantly seeks validation. Every compliment creates temporary relief, but every criticism creates lasting pain. This cycle becomes addictive because approval feels rewarding. The problem is that what comes from others can also be taken away by others. If confidence depends on praise, then confidence disappears. The moment praise is absent, true stability cannot be built on something so unpredictable. Freedom begins with recognizing that other people's opinions are reflections of their own experiences, beliefs, fears, and expectations. They do not see the world exactly as you do, nor do they carry the weight of your journey. Someone who has never faced your struggles cannot fully understand your decisions. Their judgment is limited by what they know, and what they know is always incomplete. Once this becomes clear, their opinions lose much of their power. This does not mean ignoring wisdom or refusing constructive advice. Growth often requires listening, learning, and adjusting. The difference lies in knowing whether you are guided by truth or controlled by approval. Advice helps you improve. Approval controls your identity. One strengthens your character, while the other weakens your independence. The invisible prison survives because people rarely question it. They assume that anxiety before speaking, fear before acting, and hesitation before pursuing a dream are simply normal parts of life. But imagine what becomes possible when those chains begin to loosen. Imagine making choices because they align with your values instead of your reputation. Imagine expressing yourself without rehearsing every sentence in fear of judgment. Imagine walking away from environments where acceptance requires pretending to be someone you are not. The prison was never created by the opinions of others alone. It was created the moment those opinions became more important than the quiet voice within, the voice that has always known who you are and who you are capable of becoming, waiting patiently beneath years of doubt, comparison, hesitation, and the endless pursuit of acceptance from a world that can never fully define your worth. Your worth existed long before anyone formed an opinion about you. It was not created by applause, and it cannot be destroyed by criticism. Yet many people spend their entire lives believing the opposite. They measure themselves by the number of compliments they receive, the respect others show them, or the recognition they gain. When praise comes, they feel valuable. When criticism appears, they begin to question themselves. This is one of the greatest misunderstandings a person can live with, because it places something priceless into the hands of people who never had the authority to define it. Every opinion is shaped by personal experience. Two people can look at the same mountain and describe it completely differently. One sees beauty, another sees danger. One sees opportunity, another sees difficulty. The mountain has not changed. Only the perspective has. In the same way, people view you through the lens of their own beliefs, emotions, expectations, and experiences. Someone who values ambition may admire your determination, while another who fears change may call the same determination selfish. Neither opinion changes who you truly are. It only reveals how they interpret the world. When you begin to understand this, you stop taking every judgment personally. You realize that many opinions have very little to do with you and much more to do with the person expressing them. A person filled with insecurity often criticizes confidence because it reminds them of what they lack. Someone who has given up on their dreams may discourage yours because your courage exposes their resignation. Others may misunderstand your silence because they are uncomfortable with stillness. They are responding from their own inner world, not from an objective truth. One of the greatest traps is comparing your identity with someone else's expectations. Society constantly presents invisible standards for success, beauty, intelligence, relationships, and achievement. If you follow every expectation, you will spend your life chasing a finish line that keeps moving. Every time you satisfy one group of people, another group will expect something different. The pursuit never ends because expectations are endless. Inner peace becomes impossible when your identity depends on standards that change with every opinion. Think about the strongest people you admire. They are rarely loved by everyone. History is filled with individuals who were criticized, misunderstood, and even rejected while they were creating meaningful change. If they had allowed public opinion to define their worth, many of their greatest contributions would never have existed. Their strength came from knowing that purpose is more important than popularity. Your character is a far more reliable measure than your reputation. Reputation lives in the minds of other people. Character lives within your actions, choices, and principles. Reputation can change overnight because of a rumor, a misunderstanding, or a single mistake. Character is built quietly over years through honesty, discipline, integrity, and courage. One depends on external perception. The other depends on internal consistency. When you invest more in character than reputation, you become far less vulnerable to the changing opinions of the world. This understanding also frees you from the exhausting habit of proving yourself. Many people work tirelessly, not because they love what they do, but because they desperately want recognition. Even after achieving success, they still feel empty, because external validation never permanently satisfies an internal need. The desire for approval grows stronger the more it is fed. Lasting confidence comes from knowing that your efforts reflect your values, whether anyone notices them or not. There will always be people who misunderstand your intentions. Some will judge your decisions without knowing your circumstances. Others will criticize your progress because it challenges their own comfort. If you attempt to correct every misunderstanding, you will spend your life defending yourself instead of living. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every accusation requires your response. Sometimes the greatest strength is allowing people to believe what they choose while you remain committed to your path. This does not mean becoming arrogant or believing you are beyond improvement. Humility means remaining open to truth while refusing to let false judgment determine your identity. Wise people listen carefully, reflect honestly, and change when necessary. But they do not surrender their self-worth to every passing opinion. They understand that growth comes from self-awareness, not from constant approval. The day you stop asking others to confirm your value is the day you begin to experience genuine freedom. You no longer need every room to accept you before you enter it with confidence. You no longer fear criticism because you know it cannot rewrite your character. You no longer chase applause because your purpose becomes greater than your desire to be admired. Instead, you stand firmly on the quiet understanding that your worth is rooted in who you choose to become each day, not in the changing voices of those who only see a small part of your journey and never the complete story that continues to shape the person you are becoming. The courage to walk your own path is not revealed when everything is easy. It appears when your direction begins to separate from the expectations of everyone around you. Anyone can move with the crowd because the crowd provides comfort, approval, and the illusion of safety. It is far more difficult to step into the unknown with only your convictions to guide you. This is where real strength is born, not in the absence of fear, but in the willingness to continue despite it. Most people are taught from an early age to fit in rather than stand out. They learn to avoid making mistakes, to avoid being criticized, and to avoid disappointing others. Over time, they become experts at blending into expectations. They choose careers because they are respected, not because they are meaningful. They stay in relationships because they fear loneliness more than unhappiness. They silence their ideas because they worry someone might laugh. Every compromise feels small in the moment, yet together they create a life that belongs more to other people's expectations than to their own heart. Walking your own path does not mean rejecting advice or believing you know everything. Wisdom often comes from listening, but there is a profound difference between listening to guidance and surrendering your direction. Advice should sharpen your vision, not replace it. The final decision must always come from a place of honesty within yourself. If every important choice is made simply to satisfy others, then your life slowly becomes a reflection of their dreams instead of your own. There will always be moments when choosing your own path feels lonely. People may question your decisions because they cannot see what you see. They may doubt your vision because it does not fit their understanding of success. Some will tell you to be realistic, not because your dream is impossible, but because they have forgotten how to believe in their own. Their limitations become the lens through which they judge your possibilities. If you accept their fear as your truth, you will never discover what you were truly capable of achieving. Silence becomes one of your greatest allies on this journey. There is no need to announce every plan or defend every decision. Many people waste precious energy explaining themselves to those who have already decided not to understand. Your actions will always speak more clearly than your arguments. A tree does not convince anyone that it is growing. It simply continues to grow, season after season, until its strength becomes impossible to ignore. In the same way, your life should become the evidence of your convictions. Walking in silence also protects your focus. Every time you seek approval before taking action, you invite unnecessary doubt into your mind. Opinions begin to compete with your intuition. The excitement you once felt becomes diluted by endless questions and conflicting advice. But when your vision remains close to your heart, it has space to develop without constant interference. Quiet determination often produces greater results than loud declaration. There is a remarkable freedom in accepting that not everyone will understand your journey. Some relationships may change because growth naturally creates distance from people who are committed to remaining the same. This does not mean you stop loving them or respecting them. It simply means you no longer abandon your purpose to preserve their comfort. Growth sometimes requires disappointing the expectations of others in order to remain faithful to the calling within yourself. The strongest individuals are rarely driven by recognition. They are driven by alignment. Their actions match their values. Their words reflect their beliefs. Their choices remain consistent even when nobody is watching. This quiet integrity creates a confidence that cannot be borrowed from applause or destroyed by criticism. They understand that success without authenticity is an empty victory, while an authentic life remains meaningful even during moments of struggle. As you continue on your own path, there will be setbacks, failures, and unexpected obstacles. These moments do not mean you chose the wrong direction. They are part of every worthwhile journey. The crowd may see temporary failure and assume you should turn back. But those who trust their purpose understand that every challenge is shaping the strength required for what lies ahead. Patience becomes more valuable than immediate results, and persistence becomes stronger than momentary doubt. One day you will look back and realize that the greatest risk was never failing. The greatest risk was allowing fear of judgment to prevent you from becoming who you were created to be. Every step taken with honesty, courage, and quiet conviction moves you further away from a life controlled by expectation and closer to a life guided by purpose, where your direction is no longer decided by the voices around you, but by the unwavering strength that has always existed within you, waiting for the moment you finally chose to trust it. The desire to impress others is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. It often begins so quietly that most people never notice it. You buy certain things not because you need them, but because you want to appear successful. You choose your words carefully, not to express your truth, but to gain approval. You compare your achievements with those of others and feel as though you are constantly behind. Without realizing it, your energy is no longer invested in becoming a better person. It is invested in creating a better image. There is a profound difference between the two. One leads to lasting fulfillment, while the other leads to endless exhaustion. A person who lives to impress is always dependent on an audience. They feel confident when they are praised and uncertain when they are ignored. Their emotions rise and fall with every compliment and every criticism. This is a fragile way to live because it places peace in the hands of circumstances that cannot be controlled. The opinions of people change, trends change, expectations change. If your identity is built upon these shifting foundations, then your confidence will always remain unstable. True freedom begins the moment you realize that your life is not a performance. You are not here to convince everyone of your worth. You are not here to collect admiration or prove your importance. You are here to live honestly, to grow continually, and to become a person whose actions reflect genuine character. This shift is quiet, but it transforms everything. Instead of asking, "How do I look?" You begin asking, who am I becoming? Instead of wondering whether people approve of you, you begin wondering whether your actions align with your values. Many people mistake simplicity for failure because society often celebrates appearances more than substance. A quiet person is underestimated because they do not seek attention. A humble person is overlooked because they do not advertise their achievements. A disciplined person may seem ordinary because their greatest victories happen in private. Yet these are often the individuals who possess the deepest strength. They have stopped chasing admiration and started building themselves from within. Their confidence is not loud because it does not need to be. The need to impress also creates constant comparison. Every success achieved by someone else begins to feel like evidence of your own inadequacy. Instead of celebrating another person's journey, you begin measuring your value against theirs. This comparison never ends because there will always be someone wealthier, more talented, more attractive, or more accomplished. If your happiness depends on being better than everyone else, then happiness will remain impossible to sustain. When you release the need to impress, comparison begins to lose its power. You understand that every individual is walking a different path with different challenges, different opportunities, and different timing. Your responsibility is not to compete with another person's story. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to your own. This understanding brings a deep sense of peace because your attention returns to the only life you can truly shape, your own. Another hidden danger of trying to impress others is that it encourages dishonesty. People exaggerate their achievements, hide their struggles, and pretend to have everything under control. They fear that showing weakness will reduce their value. But real strength is not found in pretending to be perfect. It is found in accepting your imperfections while continuing to improve. Authenticity creates trust because it allows others to see a real human being rather than a carefully constructed image. There is remarkable freedom in no longer needing to prove yourself. You become comfortable saying, I do not know, because your identity is no longer threatened by humility. You become willing to learn because protecting your ego is no longer your highest priority. You become patient because you understand that meaningful growth happens gradually, often unnoticed by the outside world. Your focus shifts from collecting recognition to developing wisdom, discipline, compassion, and integrity. People may still misunderstand you. They may underestimate your abilities because you are not constantly seeking attention. They may overlook your quiet progress because it happens away from public view. But these things no longer disturb you. You understand that recognition is temporary while character is lasting. You no longer chase applause because your satisfaction comes from knowing that each day you are becoming more honest, more disciplined, and more aligned with your principles. As this transformation deepens, you begin to experience a peace that cannot be purchased or borrowed. You wake each morning with less concern about appearances and more commitment to purpose. Your decisions become clearer because they are guided by conviction rather than approval. Your relationships become healthier because they are built on honesty instead of performance. The mask that once demanded constant attention quietly falls away, revealing a life shaped not by the endless desire to impress the world, but by the enduring freedom that comes from knowing your greatest responsibility is simply to become the truest version of yourself, regardless of who notices or who never does. Living according to your own truth is one of the greatest expressions of inner freedom. It is not about doing whatever you want or rejecting every opinion that differs from your own. It is about living in alignment with your deepest values, your highest principles, and your genuine purpose, even when the world encourages you to become someone else. The moment you stop allowing external voices to determine your identity, you begin to discover a strength that has always existed within you. This strength is quiet, steady, and unshakable because it is built on truth rather than approval. Most people spend years searching for power in places where it cannot last. They seek status, recognition, influence, and admiration, believing these things will make them feel complete. For a brief moment, they may experience satisfaction, but it quickly fades because external success can never replace internal certainty. The applause becomes addictive. The recognition must constantly be renewed. The approval of others becomes a habit that is impossible to satisfy completely. True power begins where this endless pursuit ends. Your own truth is discovered in moments of stillness. It is the quiet voice that remains when fear, comparison, and distraction begin to fade. It reminds you of what truly matters. It reminds you of the person you want to become rather than the image you want to project. Yet many people ignore this voice because it often asks them to make difficult decisions. It asks them to leave environments that limit their growth. It asks them to forgive when resentment feels easier. It asks them to remain patient when the world demands immediate results. Following this inner truth requires courage because it often leads away from comfort and toward transformation. There will always be people who disagree with your choices. Some will misunderstand your intentions because they only see your actions and not the reasons behind them. Others may criticize your decisions because they challenge the beliefs they have held for years. This is a natural part of living authentically. If every important decision requires universal approval, then authentic living becomes impossible. The unstoppable person understands that disagreement is not failure. It is simply evidence that every individual sees life through a different perspective. Fairness, freedom changes the way you respond to obstacles. Instead of asking why difficulties are happening to you, you begin asking what they are teaching you. Challenges become opportunities to strengthen your patience, resilience, and wisdom. Criticism becomes an opportunity to reflect rather than react. Failure becomes a lesson rather than a definition. Because your identity is rooted in your values instead of your circumstances, temporary setbacks no longer have the power to destroy your confidence. One of the clearest signs of inner freedom is emotional stability. This does not mean you never feel sadness, disappointment, or frustration. It means your emotions no longer control your decisions. You learn to observe them without immediately acting upon them. You become less reactive and more intentional. A calm mind sees opportunities that an anxious mind cannot. A disciplined heart chooses wisdom, where an impulsive heart chooses comfort. This quiet mastery over yourself is far more powerful than trying to control other people. Living according to your own truth also transforms your relationships. You no longer surround yourself with people simply because they approve of you. Instead, you value relationships built on honesty, mutual respect, and genuine encouragement. You become willing to let go of connections that require you to constantly pretend. Although this may feel painful at first, it creates space for healthier relationships where you are accepted for who you truly are, rather than for the role you have been performing. An unstoppable person is not someone who never experiences fear. Fear continues to appear, but it no longer decides the direction of life. Courage becomes stronger than uncertainty. Purpose becomes greater than comfort. Discipline becomes more reliable than temporary motivation. Every day becomes another opportunity to choose principles over convenience and truth over approval. This consistency builds an inner confidence that cannot be shaken by changing circumstances. As your confidence grows from within, you notice something remarkable. The opinions that once disturbed you begin to lose their influence. You no longer feel the need to explain every decision or defend every choice. Your energy is no longer wasted trying to convince others that your path is meaningful. Instead, you invest that energy into becoming wiser, kinder, stronger, and more disciplined. Your life itself becomes your message. Your actions speak more loudly than your arguments ever could. There comes a point where freedom is no longer something you are searching for, because it has become the foundation upon which you live. You walk with quiet confidence because you know your direction is guided by values that cannot be bought, borrowed, or taken away. You stop measuring success by the amount of recognition you receive and begin measuring it by the integrity with which you live each day. And from that moment forward, you become truly unstoppable, because nothing outside of you holds greater authority than the truth you have chosen to live within every step of your journey toward a meaningful and purposeful life.